All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring a completely chilling paradox. I mean, think about it. How do people completely vanish in an era where cameras and digital footprints track our literally every single move? Welcome, everyone. We live in a world where it feels almost impossible to go off the grid, right? And yet, sometimes that grid simply fails us.
This question right here, it's really the heart of our entire investigation today. We're going to break down 6 really dense, detail-heavy cases where the footage totally exists, but the final truth remains hidden. We have security footage, we have digital trails, we've got eyewitnesses, but what we don't have is a resolution. Let's unpack the evidence and see exactly what happens when the digital trail just abruptly ends.
Okay, so starting off with theme 1, betrayed by trusted guardians.
Let's look at this timeline. Back on May 11th, 2011, Amy Pitson unexpectedly pulled her 6-year-old son Timothy out of school. Now, on the surface, it looked like they were having the absolute time of their lives, hitting up a zoo and a water park. But behind the scenes, Amy was totally ignoring her family's frantic pleas and refusing to let Timothy speak on the phone. By May 14th, security cameras catch Amy checking into a motel in Rockford, Illinois. But she's completely alone. The very next day, she's found dead by suicide and Timothy is just gone.
Then, police find this note left next to Amy's body. You will never find him. It's just absolutely haunting. It left investigators completely torn between hoping he was hidden away safely somewhere and fearing a much, much darker reality. See, what makes this so complex is the physical evidence. Police found Timothy's blood in Amy's car, and they noticed the car had been driven through some really muddy, grassy areas, which strongly suggests she took him somewhere incredibly remote. So the note says he's safe, but the physical evidence had law enforcement frantically searching isolated forests.
Moving on to the disappearance of 8-year-old Relisha Rudd. This case is just a catastrophic failure on so many levels. Relisha was living in a really crowded, unstable family shelter in D.C. When she stopped showing up to school, her mother claimed she was getting medical treatment with a Dr. Tatum. Well, turns out, Khalil Tatum wasn't a doctor at all. He was a janitor at the shelter with a known criminal history of burglary. Surveillance footage actually caught him taking Relisha to a hotel. But what's absolutely horrifying is what he was seen buying shortly after. A shovel, large trash bags, and lime, which, if you don't know, is a chemical often used to mask the scent of decay. And here is how incredibly fast things escalated. Once school officials realized the whole Dr. Tatum thing was a total fraud, the dominoes just fell. Tatum's own wife was found dead in a hotel room from a gunshot wound, which triggered this massive nationwide manhunt. But tragically, just like in the Pitson case, the primary suspect took his own life. Tatum was found dead in a shed in a park they had actually already searched. He took whatever answers he had about Relisha straight to the grave, leaving police totally in the dark about whether she might still be alive. Which brings us to theme 2, surveillance and sinister secrets. This next case, the murder of 45-year-old Missy Beavers, is deeply terrifying precisely because we actually have the footage. It's early morning, April 18th, 2016. Missy arrives at this Texas church to teach a fitness class, but cameras show an intruder was already inside by 3:50 a.m., dressed head to toe in SWAT-style tactical gear. And what's so wild is that the intruder wasn't rushing at all. They were just casually wandering the halls, breaking glass in what looked like a staged robbery, walking with this very distinct, clumsy, almost heavy gait, like they had all the time in the world. So you really have to ask yourself, was this a botched robbery or a targeted hit? Because here's the kicker. The killer inexplicably left Missy's purse and iPad right there at the scene. Leaving valuable electronics behind completely contradicts the robbery theory, right? It just adds to this eerie, unsettling feeling that Missy might have been specifically targeted by whoever was hiding beneath that tactical helmet. Now let's look at 17-year-old Alyssa Turney. When she vanished, her father, Michael's story was completely falling apart, as you can see clearly on this table. Michael claimed she ran away after an argument, but she left $1,800 in her bank account completely untouched. He claimed she left a runaway note, but she left her purse, her phone, literally all her essentials behind. He even told police she was heading out to California to live with her biological aunt, but when investigators actually called the aunt, she hadn't heard a single word from Alyssa. Literally none of it added up. And the deeper investigators looked, the more disturbing it got. It turns out Alyssa's home life was beyond suffocating. We're talking extreme, almost obsessive monitoring by her father. Michael would actually show up at her workplace with a video camera. He installed hidden recording devices directly in the family's living room to monitor her every single move, and he even screened her calls. Oh, and on top of all that, he waited an astonishing 5 days before even reporting her missing. 5 days! Claiming he thought she just needed to cool off.
But here's where it takes a wild turn, and it's a real testament to the power of social media today. Alyssa's sister, Sarah, flat out refused to let the case go cold. She took to TikTok, boldly and publicly accusing her stepfather of being responsible. Her massive online campaign actually spread like wildfire and directly led to his arrest for second-degree murder in 2020. But because the prosecution couldn't produce direct physical evidence of Alyssa's death, the legal system just couldn't make it stick. The judge acquitted Michael in 2023. All right, moving on to our final theme, number 3, swallowed by the elements.
Let's talk about Amy Lynn Bradley. On March 24, 1998, 23-year-old Amy completely vanished from a cruise ship at around 5:30 in the morning. Now, at first, the crew just assumed she fell overboard, but her family immediately pushed back, insisting she was terrified of open water and wouldn't have been careless near the edge. Plus, she left her shoes and her ID in the cabin. But here is the most chilling detail by far. When the family went to the ship's photography display board, where they post all the tourist photos, every single picture featuring Amy had been meticulously removed. It's like someone was systematically trying to erase the fact that she was ever on that ship.
And those missing photos really fueled a deeply disturbing theory for her family, that Amy was lured away by a crew member and sold into a human trafficking network. They remembered she had actually complained about feeling watched by a specific crew member who kept hitting on her. And over the years, all these unconfirmed sightings popped up across the Caribbean. Tourists reported seeing a woman matching Amy's description with men who seemed to be controlling her. There was one horrifying report of a woman in a Barbados brothel, literally begging for help, claiming she was Amy. Years later, a photo even surfaced on an adult website featuring a woman with the exact same distinctive tattoo as Amy. Okay, heading back to dry land. Seasoned hiker and YouTuber Kenny Veach uttered these exact eerie words about a mysterious M-shaped cave out in the Mojave Desert. Kenny loved the solitude out there, but he recorded a video talking about this strange cave that, quote, made his body vibrate. Naturally, his YouTube viewers urged him to go back and explore it. So, against his better judgment and totally knowing the immense risks of that rugged Mojave terrain, Kenny packed up his gear, told his girlfriend where he was going, and set off to find answers for his audience. So here is how that played out. When he didn't come back, his girlfriend reported him missing, and rescue teams scoured the desert for weeks. They eventually found his cell phone lying right near an abandoned mine shaft. But get this, it was completely void of any final recordings or clues. No final message, nothing, just left there. The desert is just vast and unforgiving, and the search ultimately had to be called off. It's a bizarre detail that has led internet sleuths to speculate endlessly, with some even claiming he might have faked the whole thing. Which brings us to our conclusion. Will we ever know? Fast forward to 2019, 8 whole years after Timothy Pitson, from our first case, vanished. A young man suddenly comes forward claiming to be him. Can you imagine the emotional whiplash for that family? For a brief, incredible moment, Timothy's father believed his son had actually escaped his captors. The story made national headlines, but then the DNA results came back. It was an imposter. Just a troubled individual looking for a way out of his own life. It completely crushed the family's renewed hopes, and the case remains agonizingly open.
So, bringing it all together, these cases are such a harsh reminder. We have hotel security tapes of Amy Pitson and Khalil Tatum. We literally have footage of Missy Bever's killer in SWAT gear. We have Michael Turney's intense home surveillance, the digital footprint of a massive cruise ship, and Kenny Veach's YouTube channel. A camera might capture the very beginning of a nightmare, but it absolutely does not guarantee we're ever going to see the resolution. Despite all this modern technology, the final fates of these 6 people remain completely hidden in the shadows. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. If continuous surveillance and digital trails can't give us the answers, what truly happens when the footage stops? It's a terrifying thought, honestly. In a world where absolutely everything is recorded, sometimes the silence right after the tape cuts out is the loudest clue of all. When the lens finally turns away, the wilderness, the ocean, or just the dark corners of human intent can apparently swallow a person whole. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Until next time, stay curious, stay observant, and take care of yourselves out there.